40 years of using their cartridges, I've finally made it to Eley Hawk's HQ in the Midlands.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Yes, I've come to see David, please, if that's okay.
Sure, I'll find it for you, thank you.
Peter, good to see you again.
David.
Hi.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, come on in.
David Thompson's going to fill me in on everything that's going on at Eley as they mark their 100th and 90th anniversary. But first, a factory tour. I'm watching their collector's edition paper case cartridges get made. There's only a limited run, so if you want to get your hands on some, don't wait around. And with the first batch heading for the warehouse, David takes me to the office to tell me more about the history of Eley.
I'm looking forward to talking about the product and the company history.
Yep. Unfortunately, Eduardo can't be here today. He's been called away on business, but we know that he's left you a video message, which we'd like you to see as well.
Oh, smashing.
I take great pride in being able to work for such an iconic company as Eley Hawk, and I feel honored to contribute in writing the current chapter of our history. Our staff work hard to maintain our unique reputation within the industry and to provide shooters with the innovative and outstanding cartridges that they deserve. To honor the 190th anniversary of Eley Hawk, we've launched our latest innovation in clay cartridges, the Titanium. It is a 12 gauge, 28 gram, all-round clay cartridge. Loaded in a nickel head high density blue polyethylene case, we've used our premium powder PSB Plus 3 and the unique in the UK nickel shot pellets. Furthermore, we've produced a set of limited merchandising collection. Our customers worldwide will have the opportunity to acquire limited edition 190th anniversary game cartridges. There will also be available the 190th anniversary pair of cufflinks and lapel badges.
Yeah, it's nice to hear from Eduardo there, and there's lots going on right now.
This year in 2018 is our 190th year, so we've been on the move now, producing cartridges since 1828. The only European manufacturer who's got that level of commitment and depth of history that we've seen across the years. From the early days when William and Charles Eley took it over from their father and started to create the cartridges of today. Even before then, they took on the patent in the 1840s for the Genoa wire cartridge, and that was an encased cartridge with papier mâché almost, wrapping this wire case with a powder charge at the bottom.
Which was quite a leap of faith and a gamble at that time.
Oh, indeed, because they had to be sure that muzzle loading would die eventually, and that the gun makers would swap over to a brand new form of ignition. So they then, in 1854, put their very first patent in for combustible paper cartridges, and that's where it really started. They then, in
Breech loading was
that's right, yeah. And 1886, they patented their famous Ebl Shield, which you'll see on all of our cartridges, which you'll see on all of our marketing literature, which derived itself from the very first Eley Brothers silversmith mark that they used to stamp on their old silversmithing spoons.
So really the Eley Brothers and their innovations were award-winning right from the very start.
That's true, and we saw that from 1898 when they won the Grand Prix Award for cartridge innovation at the Paris exhibitions. And for us, that Grand Prix Award was really the kick-off for the full business that we've seen grown over these years. 1924, which was just after the Great War, when clay shooting was on the rise.
So many thousand people worked the land, gamekeepers.
That's correct.
Only 20% of, or less than that, if memory serves me well, just less than that came back from the Great War. So all the landed estates and the traditional game shooting, the big vast estates and the teams of gamekeepers were no more, and we've never got back to that sort of pre-war numbers of game custodians and wildlife custodians on the land.
Exactly, and off the back of that, they grew a popularity for clay shooting because they needed something else to keep them occupied while they built back up the game numbers, built back up gamekeeping, improved what they were doing, and off the back of that really worked hard to rebuild game shooting. So we produced the first trap cartridges which could be used in lighter shots, lighter loads, so that people could keep on shooting all day if needs be. Early 1933, when plastics were first discovered, we actually managed to create the very first plastic cartridge in the world in 1933, which started the evolution towards what we have today, which is higher speeds, higher pressures, improved cartridge ballistics.
Could I just ask for some water, please? I've got to throw out like a roofing tile, sorry. Somebody asked me the diva, David. I see we've got some collector's editions and the old Grand Prix. I remember that. Even the paper case, sort of, as a youngster, smelling that sort of, the propellant smell.
Yep.
And it's as vivid now as it was then. So.
Yeah, I mean, last year we put out for the first time the Grand Prix cartridges collector's edition, built off the 1930s, 40s era, just to see if people wanted them. And we were stunned. Within 6 weeks, we'd sold them all. And it was just like, we'd only done a limited run. And each one had a little limited edition sticker. And the same with the collector's edition. We've done more this time because we know there's more people who want them, but we've done a 190th year collector's edition, and which people can shoot. Yeah. They're fully live cartridges ready to go with a 6-shot, nickel brass, paper case, so it's a mixture of old and new. We've also seen a lot of demand for our other bits and pieces we've put together for the 190th year. So we've put together some special anniversary cufflinks.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the cufflinks basically mimic the brass head really well with the Eley, and then obviously the 1828 and up to 2018. And obviously off the back of that, we then did a Lapel Badge.
A lot of shooters are loyal to brands that they know and love and trust.
It's a privilege to support those shooters with the products that they want. And it's all been part of the innovation story that we've been doing in the last sort of 4 or 5 years. We launched the Zenith Cartridge with copper-coated lead in 20 and 12 gauge. Incidentally, we've now got that ready in a 34 and 36 gram load variant for this season for later on birds. We've also kept our eye on the traditional market as well by releasing Impact Traditional and Grand Prix Traditional. This year we launched Titanium and Titanium Strike for the clay market, which is the only UK manufacturer with a nickel-coated lead shot in a clay cartridge. And hopefully you'll see that the other films that we do shows the performance that's right at the heart of everything we do.
Eley have certainly achieved a lot. And the history side of it, I mean, I'm just looking back at some of the marvellous pieces of history that you've got here at HQ. And I actually remember being, 10 years old, 12 years old, picking this up in the local gun shop. And the old Eley Hymax, I managed by doing a few deals with various people to secure a couple of thousand of those.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was 1 1/4 ounce number 3s, and I used to use them on everything. Of late, I used the Zenith is fantastic. You know, I mean, it's the top end product, hard hitting, great stuff. I've shot ptarmigan, I've shot grouse, I've shot pretty much all the wildfowl species. And colleagues of mine, Jeff Garrett, Jeff's actually managed to get his face on the box, which I never have.
Just quite, yeah, he got a signature on there, which was nice of him to put that on and endorse the product. For him to help us develop that Pigeon Select and the Pigeon HV was fantastic. Yeah, he was a great guy to work with.
Absolutely, a great ambassador for the sport, and certainly for the product. And of course, VIP, which is the mainstay for my shooting right now.
Part of what we strive to achieve here at Eley Hawk is the consistency in the product, consistency from batch to batch, the quality levels and processes that we go through to make sure that the product is consistent, always to proof, always to the right speeds, always to the right pressures, so that people get that consistent experience from season to season and year to year. And that's what we're about, is trying to make sure that happens throughout the time.
And it's quite something that you cover all disciplines, right through from sporting, player shooting, for competition shooting, right the way through game shooting, wild fowling. I remember filming Paul Childerley fox driving, using the Alpha Max, absolutely rolling those foxes over.
We've been involved with people like Jose Sutu in his new book, Feathers the Game Larder, that's just come out, and it's just roaring away success. And supporting things like that, as well as the Bass Scouts. I had the privilege to go over to see the Nordjam event in 2018 this year, and it was fantastic to see up to 5,000 scouts get the opportunity to shoot a gun for the very first time and break 5 clays. using our cartridges was
fantastic.
a real privilege.
And these are the future,
Yeah.
you know, for the sport, for certain. And Eley have been really good at backing good causes. And I remember actually being involved in arranging the cartridges for the 3rd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, for their shooting team, which was fantastic. And talking about history, I remember getting the Eley Shooter's Diary way back when I was in short, so it must have been 8-10 years old. 1905, I believe, was the first edition.
That is correct, yeah. 114 years
By
now.
my math is 114.
Yeah, and it's been packed full ever since then of interesting data, speeds, pressures, shot counts, season timings for shooting of birds and wildfowl and pheasant, and all the seasons are in there. We've had always produced it.
This year, the Countryside Alliance is sponsoring the diary.
Not quite sponsored. We're actually donating £1 from every one sold to the Countryside Alliance, and it will go towards the Countryside Alliance campaign for shooting, which is great because that that money is then used for campaigning work, for developing routes of communication to politicians, public bodies, government, police, and so on, to actually campaign properly for all of the rights of shooters across the UK to carry on enjoying the sports they love. It's amazing that we've managed to achieve so much in the last 5, 10 and 15 years, really, within the Eley brand. It's been a privilege to work on it, as much as it is to shoot the product. It's a privilege to work with the people who make it happen every day, day in, day out in the factory.
No, absolutely, and I can certainly say that it's a privilege to actually use the product, David, and everything's easy with Eley.